You're listening to Field Day with Katie Black.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Field Day with Katie Black. I'm honored today I have with me
Jim Szoke. I do sports. I do this show with you. Can you hear me?
Yes. First of all, I know you've been in sports broadcasting for a long time, and I always ask people, regardless of their occupation, like, how did that come about?
I do the Panthers broadcast. I do East Carolina play-by-play, work at WBT Radio. And for me, when I went to college up in Ohio at Bowling Green State University, I went to the college TV station the first day. And long story short, I wanted to be on air, but they said, you know, your first year, you'll probably have to do stuff behind the scenes. And the second year, you'll probably have to do stuff behind the scenes. And it'll be at least your third year before you're ever on camera. So I was like, oh, depressing. So I left. I went down to the college radio station the next day, my second day at school at Bowling Green. And I walked in at lunchtime, and there was a guy sitting up there who happened to be the radio sports director of WBGU Radio. And same spiel. I said, hey, I'm a freshman. I'm Jim Szoke. I do sports. And I said, I would love to get involved with you guys. And he had me pull some wire copy, just read it in. They recorded it. And he said, what are you doing today at 2:30? So that's how I got into radio, was doing just that. Getting in radio was just so much easier than getting involved with TV at the beginning.
So interesting. Well, I always ask people too, I know that you said that you're from Ohio. Were you born and raised in Ohio?
I was just outside of Cleveland, so grew up in the cold and with not very good sports teams, yet somehow managed to love sports, even though my teams didn't really reward me very often growing up.
Well, honestly, I'm same. Being here in Charlotte, I feel the same kind of way. Well, first off, was curious, did your job in radio take you down to Charlotte, or how did you find your way to Charlotte?
So when I graduated, I was working, when I graduated from college from Bowling Green, I was working part-time at a radio station up in Toledo, Ohio. And my whole family lived in Ohio, but I wanted to live somewhere else. So I just looked at places where I thought I might want to live geographically and try to make it. So I moved down here and was doing some high school football for a little radio station in Concord. And then I saw a want ad in the newspaper for a traffic reporter. So it was actually in Creative Loafing, which is like the entertainment newspaper. And I applied for the job. They called me back like the next day and had me interview with them. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I paid less than $200 a week to do a split shift, sitting in an airplane doing traffic reports. I took it anyways. And they opened a lot of doors for me. So I did that for a year and a half. And it got me in with my radio station I still work at, WBT. Got in with knowing the sports director at that time, Steve Martin, who was doing the Charlotte Hornet games. And took me about a few months to get involved with doing some part-time sports there and filling in. And the Hornets were already here. There was like their second season of the Hornets' existence. So I got in on their broadcast doing pregame, halftime, and postgame. So kind of a convoluted way of, I knew what I wanted to do. I had to kind of go around the back door of getting there, of working up in Concord and finding a want ad out of Creative Loafing to do traffic reporting. But it got me in the door to make contacts at places like WBT and with the Charlotte Hornets back before the Panthers even existed.
Wow. So yeah, my background is got a multimedia degree, journalism and master's in media and communications. But when I graduated, the economy was, so I've kind of gone a weird path to kind of like circle back around. And before I say, I feel like I've looked at like all the things that you're doing. You're like kind of like a Ryan Seacrest.
I keep busy.
Yes, like you said, the worked with WBT Radio, and then also the voice of the Panthers from the beginning, and you're also the voice of East Carolina University football for the 2023 season. And was just wondering, I don't know if it's fair, do you have like a favorite, or are they all kind of equally exciting?
They're all different. I've worked at WBT and for the Panthers both for 29 years. So I've done both those a long time. So that's my established what I do. And the reason I'm doing East Carolina football only is because it's 4 hours away to get to Greenville, North Carolina. I could do more. I'm actually going to do a little bit of their basketball this year too. But I can't do their coaches' shows on location and things like that. So because of logistics, I would do more with East Carolina, but I can't really make that happen. It creates some interesting travel challenges, getting back from what is typically Saturday college football with East Carolina and Sunday Panther games. So it's, I'll give you a recent example was 2 weeks ago, I had a Saturday game in Greenville, North Carolina. They were at home opener against Marshall, but the game didn't kick off till 6. So I didn't get out of there till like 10. And then I had to drive to Atlanta because there were no flights that late to get out of Greenville to be in Atlanta to do the Panthers-Falcons game on Sunday. And we go on the air at 10 a.m., even though the kickoff's at 1. So I drove basically 7 hours, got there at like 4:30 in the morning, slept till 7:30 in the morning, and got up, did that game, and then drove back from Atlanta to Charlotte 4 hours. So that was my weekend 2 weekends ago. But I enjoy it. But sometimes the travel doesn't work out as great. Not every weekend is that bad, but that was the worst one so far.
Wow. Like I said, I have so many questions. I'm trying to like compound them all in order. But essentially, since you've seen obviously legitimately the Panthers, the evolution from the beginning, how, like, what do you think of, or even currently what's going on in real time? What's it like to see all of that?
Well, it's funny because I have been around since the beginning, 1995, that our first quarterback is now our head coach, Frank Reich. So that's a little interesting. And our first head coach, Dom Capers, is an assistant coach on his staff. And now he's 72 years old. So it's a little bit different. And now we have this quarterback who just turned 22, and I'm in my 50s, who's like a baby to me because I'm more than twice his age. So back when I started this, I was like the age of the football players, and I'm old enough to be their dad, and maybe if you spread it a little bit, their granddaddy, if you if you kind of manipulate it a little bit. But it's just interesting, like seeing all the comings and goings and the excitement of like each coaching regime that comes and each new draft pick. Like last year, so everyone was so excited about Baker Mayfield for like a minute, and before that, Sam Darnold, and of course Cam Newton had great popularity and went to a Super Bowl and won MVP. So sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't work out. I've seen kind of like the hope of the fans kind of go up and down. As you said, you're kind of like my Cleveland experience, because obviously I've experienced all the Panther games. Is like I feel like the fans have kind of earned their stripes, if you will, about going through the rough times and having those 2 Super Bowl appearance seasons, not quite winning it all. But I certainly can commiserate with them because I've been there the whole ride, and we want them to win just like the fans do.
What's your kind of like 2 cents of currently going on? Just I record in advance, everyone, but Monday night we were on Monday Night Football, and that was hard to watch.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I guess the key word for everyone's going to be just to pump the brakes and be patient just a little bit. I know it's hard to do because when your team hasn't won for a couple years in a row and you have this hope of this, this shiny new toy, Bryce Young, coming in out of Alabama. But I think he will be good. I think he's shown that he can be good. It's just he needs the reps. He needs the games and the time. And you hope they win games while he's learning. I think they will certainly, but it's going to take a little bit. And this is like a bigger kind of a time investment, I think, as opposed to just bringing in a veteran guy, like making a trade or bringing in a free agent. He truly is, 22 years old, and he's going to have up and down days. But I think big picture, like over the next couple of years, you're going to see that he was a good choice and will be a good quarterback in this league. But everyone wants to microwave it. I think we just got to kind of bake it in the oven. It's going to take a little bit longer than people want, but I don't think it'll all happen this year because of even the players around him. We used to have Christian McCaffrey. We used to have DJ Moore. If we had that now with him, then I think we could be more explosive and more exciting to watch. But they gave up a lot of those assets to be able to get to where they were with drafting him. Obviously, DJ Moore directly was traded to Chicago. So I think we just have to give it time and realize it's going to take more than 1 year to get to where they're really good. I mean, they might still win enough to even make the playoffs this year. It's a long way to go. But I think we do have to be patient overall and just let it kind of take its time.
Yeah, that's good advice, even just for myself personally.
Just take a breath and just
do some like meditation.
Come back in a month or two and go, okay, yeah, play this in a month or two. Maybe we'll be on a winning streak by then.
Again, I always like to ask like favorites, but do you have like an amazing season you feel like off the top of your head that was just like such an exciting moment in time that you really enjoyed being connected with the Panthers?
I mean, for me, it's easy because it's the 2 years we went to the Super Bowl, so Super Bowl 38, Super Bowl 50 seasons, and they were different because Super Bowl 38 was a team that was 7-9 the year before. They didn't have a winning record, and Jake Delhomme was even the starter the first day. He came off the bench at halftime, and he was just like this magical guy who just had this ability to not always be great, but he would throw 2 interceptions, but he'd throw 3 touchdowns, and they would win in the end. And we obviously had great players around him like Steve Smith and Muhsin Muhammad, and it just kind of caught fire as the season went on, where they went from being just an average team to just going all the way to the Super Bowl and winning games that were upsets in the playoffs and getting there. So it was a complete surprise, and that was fun. Super Bowl 50 was different in that team was truly 17-1 heading into the Super Bowl. And they were 15-1 in the regular season. They won their 2 playoff games, and they destroyed Arizona in the National Conference Championship game, NFC Championship game at Bank of America Stadium, like 41-14 or whatever it was. And I mean, they were on a roll. They're playing the Denver Broncos, and Peyton Manning's in his last season. He's not the guy he was his whole career. And we were such big, heavy favorites. I mean, we were like the team, and you just felt like if we just showed up, we were going to win somehow. And we lose by 2 touchdowns. And that was deflating and a weird way to end what was a phenomenal season. But how do you get mad about 17-2 about, all the fun we had along the way of getting that far? So those were 2 of my favorite seasons. And there were some others that were favorites along the way. Everything about the first season in 95 was a lot of work. It was all new, but it was fun because everything we did was brand new in 1995. So that was fun. And they played well. They lost their first 5 games, but ended up going 7-9. So that was the beginning of them getting to where they were a good football team. So there's been some really fun years mixed in. And now this is our 29th season. I can't believe I'm saying that, but 29 years we've been doing this now.
It's wild. Yeah, it's always just been, I think I was in 2nd grade when it came about. So it was always just been part of the family, my family in my head. But, this is what I was going to ask. So the crux of this sports show is kind of talking to ex-athletes. And I always ask them, do you think the game has changed? So from your vantage point, do you think the game of football has changed?
There are nuances about it that have changed. I think it's mostly the same. Like the game itself feels similar. It's become, the nuance part of it is it's become more like a college football in a way, because it used to be pro football was like a quarterback would be a big 6'5" guy that would stand in the pocket. I'm generalizing. But that's how you played pro football. And you would run the ball, and you would have a big, strong guy that was back there that could throw it, have a big arm, and not really run a lot. And then with guys like Michael Vick and Cam Newton, that began, to me, to really change the evolution of the game to where it became more collegiate. The styles that they were, instead of trying to change college quarterbacks into pro quarterbacks, or take college quarterbacks and turn them into wide receivers and defensive backs, they said, well, what if we let these athletic quarterbacks be athletic quarterbacks in pro football? And now that's where Bryce Young exists, and Russell Wilson and so many others. That's kind of what you want now. And you can still have just regular pocket guys that don't run around a lot. But I think the offenses have become a lot more like college. And then, too, I think, the safety standards, I think we've seen with concussions and things like that, big picture. Guys retire, and their lives can be altered by concussions, by surgeries that they played through with their whether it be ACL tear or whatever. So I think the advances in just safety protocols, medical protocols is another one too. Luke Kuechly was one of the best players we ever had. Back in the day, he probably would have played 20 years ago through the concussions. Now it's like after you have a couple concussions, he made a smart move, and he retired after 9 seasons in the league, because you do not want to do permanent brain damage for the rest of your life. And so I think, not everyone escapes with that kind of healthy reality, but I think that's one of the big advances and changes. It's a little more civilized in that way, I would say.
Well, speaking of injuries, any thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers weirdness of, first game injury out very shortly?
Yeah, I'm not a Jets fan at all, because it's just not one of my teams. I have enough teams, but your heart goes out to him and to that team that he played 4 plays. And the first time he got hit, he tears his Achilles tendon. After all those years in Green Bay and all the hits he took and all that he did was change uniforms, and they protected him all through the preseason. All these teams are very careful with their players now to make sure they don't get injured if they can help it in the preseason and in the practices. And then it was just bizarre that the one time he gets hit right away, he doesn't just fall down; he gets a torn Achilles tendon. So it's disappointing for them, because the Jets have this good team, and they traded a lot of assets and draft picks and money to get the one piece they needed. They didn't have the quarterback, and they got him, and they got one of the best, 4-time MVP, and he gets hurt right away. And he says he'll be back next year. I believe he can. A lot of guys always come back from that injury, so we'll see how effective he is. But I think he'll probably be close to who he is prior to the injury. But that was national TV. Everyone's watching it. Monday Night Football. Just unbelievably bad timing. You wish they could at least gotten some more bang for their buck, but it's just a situation where maybe the best thing is that it happens now, is that he'll be ready for the start of next season, as opposed to if it happened late in the year, then the whole next season would have been out. If it happened, like, say, midway through the season, he probably wouldn't be able to play next year. So could be kind of a somewhat of a silver cloud blessing that he got injured early and that he'll be able to start next season on time, you would think.
What's your thoughts? And again, I'm also kind of this person, not all the time, but I'll read a headline and be the person that doesn't read the article. But I read a headline that something about, because of the Aaron Rodgers thing, that there was questions about like grass or AstroTurf, is that true, or is that just a thought?
I think, I will say this, the Players Association would like all fields to be grass. And I'm sure they have a lot of data that backs up that there is a higher percentage of maybe knee, ankle, lower body injuries that happen on artificial surface versus natural grass. I'll give you an example for Monday Night Football was, the Panthers were playing on Monday Night Football and the Browns and Steelers were playing on Monday Night Football. And almost simultaneously, within a few minutes of each other, Shaq Thompson from the Panthers has his leg broken, lower fibula down at the bottom, almost like his ankle area, on the synthetic surface here in Charlotte. And then Nick Chubb, the Browns running back, is playing the Steelers on grass and has one of the most horrific knee injuries I've seen. He came and look at it, the way his knee got bent. So one happened on grass, one happened on turf. The thing about turf, they say, is like your foot can stick and like get planted and not move, where on grass it'll give and won't be as stuck. But again, you can get hurt on either. These guys are hitting hard and they're big and they're strong and they're fast. So injuries happen in both places. I guess you would say there's probably, you're lowering some percentage of the overall injuries if everybody played on natural grass, but it's not always possible. I mean, and these synthetic surfaces have come a long way. They're almost like grass, honestly, the way they make them. And the one we have here in Charlotte is actually the best quality that you can have. But again, I don't have the stats in front of me, but that's what they claim is the difference.
That's an interesting comparison, though. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like it's a sport and there's a high percentage that you're going to get injured, I guess.
It is. I mean, you can get hurt doing anything. I've seen football players often get hurt in practice running by themselves. Just running a pass route and nobody is near them. Happened to J.C. Horn, actually, the Panthers cornerback. He pulled his hamstring in Atlanta the first game, and he's going to be out for a couple months, and nobody touched him. And that happens where a guy breaks his foot or pulls a hamstring or tears an ACL. The year the Panthers went to the Super Bowl last time, Kelvin Benjamin in training camp was running a pass route, tore his ACL, just running and turning. And he's like 24 years old, so it wasn't like some guy been playing all those years and then just got hurt. So obviously the odds increase when somebody's launching themselves at you and hitting you, and they weigh a lot and they're fast. But there are things that can happen, whether you're running alone, just making a turn, or if somebody's tackling you. So it's a violent game. It really is.
When honestly, too, I'm not an athlete, and I mean, I've hurt myself just doing nothing. So it's just.
You got podcast injury, like a scratchy throat, something like that?
No, just being like a doofus, just like banging my, baby toe into like the side of a piece of furniture,
I've never done, I don't know what that is. I've never done that. I've never heard of anyone doing that. Are you the first person to ever do that?
Or at least publicly admit it, maybe.
I do that at least once a week. I also have this weird habit of, you probably don't wear pants as often as I do, but my pants pocket will open drawers as I walk around the kitchen or bathroom, or just walking and just hook on and pull a drawer open. And it's just like, what are the odds that my hip is at the exact level of pulling open drawers and I do it with my pants? It's like, am I walking too close around? I mean, what am I doing?
Or is this like a poltergeist thing?
Yeah, they be pulled at me. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so going back to your time with the Hornets, I have to ask you, did you ever observe Michael Jordan?
Yeah, it was a great era. Back then, it was actually him. It was Larry Bird. It was Magic Johnson and all those great players during that time. And that was fun. So back then, for those who live in the Charlotte area, of course, it was the Coliseum out on Tyvola Road. And it was really big by basketball standards, it was 23,000 seats. The one they have uptown now, it was like, I think 14,000, 13,000 seats. So almost not twice as big, but like, 40% bigger than what we have now. And it sold out every single night for year after year. They set the attendance record and it was full. I mean, it was real and it was loud. You talk about atmosphere and crowd, because we didn't have the Panthers yet. It was the first pro, like, major league sports team in the Carolinas. And they were a fun team. They just put together this great group of guys the first couple of years. And we ended up with Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning and Muggsy Bogues and, Kurt Rambis and Del Curry. So most people know some, if not all, of those names. And it was just a really good combination of guys. And most years, the first year they were not good because it was their first year. But after the second year, I mean, they got to where they were a consistent, playoff team. Which they've not been in recent history, which is weird. Now that Michael Jordan owned the team all those years, he just sold it, obviously, a couple months ago. They just have not been a team that contends for anything. So they were really good. The fans were totally into it. It was a huge arena, and it was selling out all the time. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a big deal. Like, to go to a Hornets game was, like the news the next day was, what did the Hornets do the night before? Because you have 82 games, so it's like almost 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week, there's a game going on. So it really was a big part of the community then, more than it is probably now.
So much. Fun fact, I did have a poster on my wall as a youth, like to see if I was taller than Muggsy Bogues. So that was always like a fun memory that I have stored in my head. But yeah, there was something just the magic or the vibe just obviously is just not the same. But
I've only met you in person one time. Are you now taller than Muggsy Bogues? Like, I didn't have the measurement
I haven't checked in a while.
Compare.
We might be the same height.
Is it close?
That was, I can't imagine. Yeah, that was just, and obviously, like I said, I was a youth and obviously wasn't able to go to all the games, but it was just, I don't know, not to sound corny, it was just kind of like magical, like a magical period here in town. But like you are an instructor of the sports broadcasting genre, and is there anything that, like, I'm obsessed with generations, is there anything interesting that you see with the kids that are now in school or what they're asking?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And, classes are, when you teach broadcasting, like sports broadcasting, I'm going to do a class at High Point University this spring, starting in January. And it's just, High Point's got a great program. You can major in sports broadcasting, not like just journalism or anything like that broad. It could be as minutia as sports broadcasting. And I'm literally teaching a play-by-play class starting in January. It's a practicum. And, you'll get a class like that and you'll have 20 whatever kids. And in there, it's always a mix of, it doesn't matter. I've done classes at Queens and at the broadcasting schools in Charlotte. You'll always have this mix of kids that are, some are into broadcasting, some are into more of the behind the scenes stuff, some are into the profession, but not what you do. And then you have that core group that, like, they want to be you, like they want your job and they want to know everything about it. So I have to balance, teaching a class to kids that are hyper into it and this is what they want to do for the next 50 years, to someone who's in there taking an elective because they thought it looked like fun and they don't want to take something that's going to hurt their brain. So I try to, like, balance it to make it, interesting for everybody and fun. And I think, if nothing else, I think, like what we're doing now even is, it's just fun. It's not like we're at the mill or, in the mines bringing out coal. So it should be fun to some degree for everybody. But I get that not everyone's a sports fan and not everyone is a broadcasting fan. So I try to make it relatable for them. So it's hard to generalize, like, what their reaction is to that, because they all have their own different angle that they're coming at that classroom. But by and large, it's been good. And I usually start my classes by what you and I just did, talk about Aaron Rodgers. We'll talk about what's in the news that week or whatever, what they're kind of talking about, just to get them engaged and talk. So I'm not talking about back when I did sports in the 80s. I want them, and when ESPN started, I want them to feel like, we're doing something current and, practical and things they can go apply for a job in the next year or two and they'll make sense. I didn't really have that in college. We had old newspaper guys teaching broadcasting classes, and as you can imagine, it's not newspaper like there used to be, but journalism used to be very who, what, when, where, why, and paragraphs and sentences and periods, and everything mattered with spelling. And now it's like you just text a tweet of some sort, and that's good enough. That's journalism now, and you can take a selfie of yourself and put it on there. So there's a whole, talking about something that's changed. Football hasn't changed so much, but journalism is a 180. Like, we were always told, you are not the story. You are to relay the story. You're not to have an opinion. You're not to be a part of the story. Punctuation matters. If you got the name wrong or spelled something wrong, it was an F.
Big deal.
Didn't matter. So if you didn't get the big facts right, it didn't matter. Now you could be like, work at ESPN, work at CNN, work Fox News, and you could have a blunder, and it's like it's forgotten in 5 minutes. But back then, it was more critical to be exactly right with everything. So the standards are a lot looser now, and you can get away with less fact and more innuendo and rumor. And in fact, that's kind of what they want. They want people getting clicks is more about, what might happen if the Panthers made a trade, or what if this politician did that, as opposed to it actually happening. So it's changed a lot.
Yeah, it's sad just because, I'm just obsessed with the whole tree of journalism, I guess, media, whatever, communications. But even too, like I enjoy I enjoy the newspaper, and even too, sometimes I'll click on articles and it's like, it's just question and answering. Like it's like the question printed out with but I guess I haven't even really thought of it that it is just totally, completely different. But
yeah, it is. It's all ads now too. Like all the newspapers have gone digital, and it's like, I think the hardest edge to navigate is always a paywall, or you just get inundated with 5 pop-up ads. It's like to read a story is like, I don't know, swimming through the ocean trying to reach the other side to get somewhere. It's like at some point I just give up on even trying to read articles because I can't. They just make it so difficult and challenging.
It's true. It's true. Can you imagine I just have like one tear full. Just one. I'm so sad about it. But okay, so I am on a time clock. Unfortunately, Zoom does this. So before I get to my last couple questions, they'll cut me off at 10 after. But I always ask my guests, do you want to give a shout out to social media or your website, or where people can find you, obviously on the radio or anything? Yeah,
I can. I'm not a big variety of social media. I still call it Twitter. That's how old I am. I don't remember. It's called X. But the Twitter X is what I'm on. It's my name, which nobody can spell. It's at Jim Szoke. So JIMSZOKE is my X Twitter. At Jim Szoke. I have a LinkedIn, and I use that to connect with people that are not on my Twitter, but from the business world. I don't know why I have a LinkedIn. I'm not really very businessy, but I have one. And then I did this honestly, and this will help you career people out there. I did my own website just on the Wix, WIX site. And on there, if you're interested, it's got my bio, it's got my stories. I've got audio clips of things I've done, video clips of things I've done, photos from the last 30 whatever years of broadcasting with famous people and stuff like that. So it's kind of what I use as like a job portfolio. So if I'm applying for a job like East Carolina, I got that, go to my audio clips. You can listen to this. If I'm applying for a TV job, here's a few video clips of me doing TV work, and my resume's on there. And then, here's photos of me with famous athletes or whatever. So I can kind of send that and go, click on this, and that, and this will work for you. But I also use it as a teaching tool because, the kids sometimes want to know who's talking to them, and I'll talk to high schools and middle schools even. And so I'll bring my website up on the screen, and I'll just talk about what I do, but then I can play a clip, or I can show a video, and or show them pictures of me with famous people, and it's more real to them that way. So that is just jimszoke.com is what that is. And it's just, again, my name, JIMSZOKE.com. I was very lucky to get that domain. No one else had that. So I was able to make that. But if you want to see more of my work and have, like, this guy's fake and I don't believe he actually works, you can look and see some work that I've done. Not a lot. Some. That
is so funny. But that is smart to just have it all in one combined place, essentially.
Back in the day, I feel 100 years old, you have to send out like an audio cassette or a CD and your paper resume. It's like so much easier just to attach, your PDF of your resume and a link to your website, and it takes 5 seconds. So it's so much easier to apply for jobs and get those jobs out there.
That's right. That's right. Well, I always like to end on like a funky note, and not that I haven't been funky so far, but I'm obsessed with the unexplained and was wondering if you had ever seen a ghost or maybe a UFO. No pressure, but I always ask.
I see one about once a week, so it's not that special to me. They follow me. It's so weird. I'm just minding my own business, like, stop it. I'll tell you the weirdest thing. I do have actually, I don't know. It's funny you brought this up. This was a topic about a week ago on our WBT morning show, and it really was. Have you ever felt like you had someone from your past, a family member, try to reach out to you, and not like scary or anything like that, or whatever. And mine was actually the most unexplainable one was a couple of years ago. My wife and I are standing in our bedroom. We're talking. It's a sunny Saturday afternoon. And we hear this crash noise in the other room. And my wife had been really sad for a few months. Her grandmother had passed away. She was really, really close with her grandmother, lived with her for a year. And she lived to be 94, but she passed away. And she was really grieving her at that time because it wasn't that far removed. Mm-hmm. And this crash happens in the other room while she's talking about that. We stopped talking about that. We walk in their room, and we have these two crystal bunnies that were like bookends, except they're not used as bookends. They're meant to be, but they're just sitting on a shelf. I mean, safely in the middle of a shelf, not holding up or supporting anything. And one of the two, I'm not exaggerating, just picture like a standard sized living room, was nearly halfway across the room on the floor. Big, heavy crystal bunny rabbit. And it just felt like, because of what we were talking about in that moment, that just felt like there was no reasonable explanation as to why a bunny rabbit crystal thing that heavy would fly across the room when it wasn't supporting anything. It didn't just fall to the ground. It was way across, and nobody else was in the house. So that's the closest I had. So it wasn't like scary or eerie. She took that as a great sign, but that was probably the closest thing that I remember anyway about being, I have no explanation for that one.
Very cool. I don't know. I love those kinds of stories.
Yeah, I'm sure you've told yours before, so probably repetitive if you tell me, but I'm sure you got some really good ones too. But it's just, that was one. I probably have others, but I forget stuff. I'll think of it later, like 2 seconds after we hang up.
No, that's fine. Like I said, I mean, some people literally just, they're like, I have nothing to share. So I love that. But I
actually did. I just made that whole story up. That never happened.
April Fools.
I had so much detail in it. Did you believe that story? No, that actually happened. That was real.
No, I love that. Thanks for sharing. Well, I still have a few more minutes, and since I am like Charlotte focused, and obviously you've been here for a long time, what do you think of all the growth?
It's I've been here since 1988. So I remember when downtown was like a ghost town. There were a couple of big bank buildings, but there was nothing to do downtown. Nobody lived downtown. And if you went after work, like at 6 o'clock, you could just drive right through like nobody's business. There was nobody there. It was kind of weird because I grew up near Cleveland. And it was, people make fun of it, but it's a big, vibrant city, and there's a lot going on. There's lots of restaurants and bars and social life up there. And I felt like Charlotte, like, what do y'all do? And I moved to this place, and it was just like going, what do y'all do for fun? Because there were no Hornets, there was no sports here, honestly. We had minor league baseball and all that. So the growth of just the interest of pro sports here, first of all, industry here, and just people like me moving here. I mean, probably as amazing as Uptown changing has looked. South End was just a couple of roads. I mean, it was just like, there was nothing like businesses. There was nothing there. South End has become its own city, and Noda is becoming that way. So I'm not against that. It's just shocking. Like, I'm pretty much around town everywhere. So I don't like, oh my God, I can't believe that's changed that much. So I kind of see it while it's happening in real time. But as you kind of think back to like a couple years ago, those areas, those neighborhoods, Plaza Midwood, it's like, wow, what a change. So it's become so much more interesting, I think, in a lot of ways.
No, yeah, I agree. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like a fever dream a little bit. It's like, whoa, I mean, just exactly what you were saying. Just, I don't know, that's why I love to ask it, because I love it, but I also don't know what to think about it.
We lived in Ballantyne for years and years, and we moved out of there. And I know they would say, it's got good schools, Fort Mill, they got good schools. So, but outside of that, like Ardrey Kell didn't even exist. My kids went to Ardrey Kell. It didn't even exist when we moved to Ballantyne. So yeah, they had some good schools, but not that many. It's like, I never understood the big lure of that space of land of Ballantyne. Like, why is that so popular? Because I lived there for 15 years. I didn't hate it, but all it is every chain restaurant you've ever heard of, and a couple did now build this cool thing at the hotel, obviously, with the amphitheater and all that, but that just happened yesterday. I never understood, like, it's fine, but it just seemed like so standard suburbia to me. I didn't understand why they had to claim every piece of land to be there, but good for us. Go Ballantyne.
Yeah, woo. No, and for people that are not from the area, yeah, I guess people do act like Ballantyne is like Beverly Hills or something, maybe. Is that, right? It's just like, and you get there and you're just like, okay, there's 3 Chick-fil-A's. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like 9 Harris Teeters and a Marshall's Home Goods. But I mean, it's like, they're nice, like the nicest Harris Teeters.
All right. Whoa, Jim, that's it. What did you think? I hope you had fun.
I had fun. I love that your earrings match your ceiling. like little CD players. So
Yes,
you definitely your favorite shape of circles. I actually own that applause sign you have. I have that applause sign. I actually own that sign.
Really?
You should light it up and then people will clap.
Well, I've tried to a couple of times, but just like the lighting, it just you can't really read it. But
Too much.
yeah, but I'll keep, like I said, it's not like I have like a director or anything here. I can mess with it if I want, but I should turn it back on.
It's a 1-person show. Yeah. Well, I'll clap for you. Good job.
Yay!
Here's your applause. Yay.